Welcome back to the sweatshop, boys and girls. In today's video, we're going to be working on this 2016 Honda Civic EX. So, boys and girls, what we're doing in today's video is we are changing out the transmission fluid on this CVT transmission. Now, two things, boys and girls. It is something that you can do in the driveway because you don't need a fancy scan tool. And it is quite easy to do, actually. It's not something that's extremely hard. It is a bit time consuming because you do need to get the thing up to operating temperature twice. And there is a process that you'll have to follow, which I will be showing you. That being said, boys and girls, you don't want to get caught with your pants down. Whatever you do, make sure you get the correct fluid. This is the correct fluid that's designated for my transmission, and get the proper amount. If you have to get extra, that's fine because you can always return it. But if you service your transmission, say on a Sunday or a day where your dealership has said bye-bye, we are not in town, well, then you're kind of screwed and you'll be stuck without a car. So my advice, always get the recommended fluid or the dealership fluid, and of course always get a little bit extra fluid so that you don't run into issues that tissues won't solve. The process on this vehicle is kind of nice. Two reasons why it's nice. The computer inside on the dash actually tells you when you need to service your transmission, so it takes the guesswork out of service, as well as the scam work that can happen at a lot of shops or dealerships. So that's really helpful not only to the mechanics who service the cars, because I can't keep track of 300 cars, and the second thing is that it's nice as well because the customer doesn't think you're trying to sell them a load of horse crap. Second thing is, boys and girls, is that this process doesn't require a scanner, which is nice because we have serviced other vehicles in the past that do require you to check the fluid at a certain temperature, which is a little bit of a pain in the ass and something that puts most people in the hands of a mechanic or dealership because they won't be able to service the cars themselves, specifically because you'll need a scan tool that'll tell you the transmission temperature, which is not common on a lot of scan tools from my knowledge, but I mean, I haven't bought one forever, so I really don't know. Anyhow, all you really need, torque wrench and a couple of sockets. I don't remember what the size is, but you'll need the sockets that are appropriate to pull off the drain plug as well as the fill plug. Usually it's a 17 with the Honda. We'll see if my memory serves me correctly. Of course, you'll also need to get this thing up in the air properly. Now, key thing is, if you are servicing the transmission in your driveway, boys and girls, it is important to make sure that you have the car level, because if it's not level, you're not going to be able to service it properly. You'll either have too much or too little fluid, which can cause a real issue later on. Of course, if you are going to do this in the driveway, make sure you employ the use of jack stands so you don't end up as a pancake underneath your car. Boys and girls, that's enough rambling. Of course, before we get started with today's video, do me a big favor, hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you never miss one of my new videos. Now, let's get started. Of course, boys and girls, your first step is to open up the hood of the car. What you need to do is locate the radiator fan, because you're going to have to run the car until it cycles twice. This here, boys and girls, is the radiator fan. Kind of hard to show you, but you gotta trust me. It is there and you will feel it when it comes up to operating temperature and turns on. We need to have this process come on twice. The way you bring it up to operating temperature is simply letting it idle. I don't suggest revving it to speed the process up. The reason being is because you want the heat to disperse throughout the engine and transmission equally. So that way, boys and girls, when you drain the thing, the fluid will be nice and hot, which means you'll get more of that expanded hot fluid out of your transmission. At least that's what I hypothesize is the theory behind why we need to heat it up. That being said, there's only one thing to do, boys and girls. Start this thing up and we'll let it heat up. Of course, I'm not going to videotape that because it's just a waste of time. Now, boys and girls, while the car is running, instead of sitting there twiddling your thumbs, what you're going to do is get yourself a flat screwdriver as well as a number 3 Phillips bit screwdriver and remove this aluminum pan underneath your engine. The reason being is because your drain plug is hiding right around there somewhere and we need to remove the pan in order to access it. If your car hasn't been touched by monkeys, you should have 6 of these guys, 3 on either side. Another proof that I don't service my cars like crap, some anti-seize, and that's why those guys come out still, see? You anti-seize it every single time, boys and girls, you won't have a headache. Then, of course, with all your hardware removed, just go ahead and yank it off. And there you go, boys and girls. There is our drain plug. Hopefully it's not too hard for you guys to hear with the engine running, but here's another view of the fan. That there, boys and girls, is the fan that we need to turn on twice before we can go ahead and drain this thing. Of course, make sure you don't touch this because it's gonna get hot, go cold. This thing's Honda, you know, it takes forever to goddamn heat up. And of course, don't get your hands anywhere close to the fan. If for whatever reason your fingers are there when this thing turns on, your fingers might not be there anymore. So don't stick them by the fan. Now, boys and girls, it has been about 20 minutes and our fan just came on. This thing wasn't completely cold, but it was cold enough. It was sitting at about 40 degrees before I started it up. So you can see it's gonna take you a while to really get it up to operating temperature, especially if you're doing this in the winter time. Unfortunately, it does say in the manual there not to rev it up and just to let it come up to temperature. Now, once the fan kicks back in for the second time, what we're going to do is quickly shut it off, put the thing up in the air, and drain the fluid. Keep in mind, boys and girls, CVT fluid stinks. Besides that, it is very carcinogenic, so make sure you use gloves. Second thing, boys and girls, in the meantime, while I was waiting, I made a contraption that will make my life quite a bit easier. What I'll do is I'll walk you through it before we go ahead and fill the transmission up with fluid so that you guys can do it at home, make your life quite a bit easier. All right, I'm gonna wait for this fan to kick back in and then shut this thing off, put it up in the air quickly. Well, there we go. We'll let it cycle. Once it's off, we'll go ahead and shut it off, put it up in the air, and drain that fluid. And it's a good thing it came on. That way you can hear how it sounds. Not mistakable at all. Okay, boys and girls, it's been about, I'd say 90 seconds so far. What you're going to do now is grab an extendable ratchet or something that's going to give you quite a bit of leverage. What the hell? Does that not fit in there? What is going on? That there, boys and girls, is a freak out moment. I thought for some reason this thing wasn't a 3/8 drive, which would have drove me insane because that would mean that I don't have the tool to take this drain plug out. Anyhow, what you're going to do now is crack it loose. Now, usually it's quite a bit of a pain in the ass to loosen that thing up, so that's why you want to get a ratchet with leverage. That way you don't break your wrist. Now, pull your drain pan in. Be very careful, boys and girls. As you know, the thing has been running, or it should have been running, otherwise you're doing it wrong. And this fluid's going to be very hot. So, wear gloves and keep your face clear of the fluid. Let her drain out. Oh yeah, she's stinky. Just want to show you guys on camera. I've got a little magnetic nipple there on the drain plug, and it's been pulling off some of the nice grime and dirt. So it's a bit more than I usually see in an automatic, but there is a little bit more aggression from the CVT and the way it works. Maybe I'll explain that in a video one day. Of course, you want to get rid of any grime and crud that you have, so wipe that off and brake clean it. Drip, 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 drip. And of course, because it's nice and hot, it's not prone to dripping. It usually runs like water, so it's a nice flowy texture, if that makes any sense. Now, boys and girls, what you want to do is let this thing drain for approximately 5 minutes at a minimum. You can let it drain for longer. It's not absolutely necessary. Essentially, what you're looking for is the majority of fluid to make its way out of the transmission. Second thing you want to beware of, boys and girls, get yourself a new washer. Replace the old one because you don't want it to potentially leak. Now, if you don't have a new one, you don't necessarily need to replace it if it's in good condition, although it is the best way to go. Now, if you're not going to replace it, make sure you inspect the hell out of it. If it is corroded, just replace it, man. Don't set yourself up for a leak. It's roughly been about 8 minutes now, boys and girls. What we're going to do is go ahead and put our drain plug back into place. Spin it on. Be sure not to burn yourself on the engine or exhaust because they are all equally hot right now. Let me go get that torque spec. Oh fuck, I think the fumes from the CVT fluid are destroying my brain cells or whatever's left of my brain. Yeah, wear a mask, boys and girls. This shit stinks. It's fucking highly toxic. It definitely causes cancer. You just smell the fucking cancer smell out of this shit. It's gross. Anyhow, what we're going to do now is get on with the show. Boys and girls, go ahead, grab your torque wrench, set it to 36 foot-pounds or 49 newton meters. Make sure you get your torque wrench in there all the way. If it's a new gasket, double check it. If it's an old gasket, double check it. Pull that guy out of there. Get a rag. And then give it a spurt of brake clean. Wonderful. Now, boys and girls, if you're doing this job, what you'll need is a fluid pump, which can be a pain in the ass, especially when you're holding, 700 things with your two arms. It's not fun. So generally, whenever I use a pump, fluid gets all over the place and you're irritated. So what I recommend doing is a trick that I saw on a TikTok. It was an Australian chap, and I can't remember the name of his channel, but I did find the link to it, which I posted in one of my other videos. Essentially, what you want to do is you're going to drill 2 holes in the cap. Now, he did it a little bit different where he drills it in the bottle. Forget that. Just drill it in the cap. This one was a mistake. It was too big, but I can't really give you any specifications. Essentially, what you want to do is get yourself a Christmas tree bit like this, basically, that will give you various sizes. The more sizes, the better. That way, when you drill into the cap, you can have more sizes. You want it to be slightly tight. You don't want it to be too loose because then air will escape. Essentially, what we're doing is we want one tube to go into the transmission and the other tube to be hooked up to your air compressor. And of course, with the cap back in place with no leaks, once you put air in here, you'll have fluid come out of here. It is very, very easy to do. Very, very mess-free and trouble-free. I love this. It makes my life so much easier. So do that if you choose, boys and girls, or get yourself a fluid pump that will pump the fluid from these stupid bottles into your transmission. Now, let's go ahead and remove our fill plug. Now, boys and girls, currently it is raining cats and dogs outside, so hopefully you guys can hear me clearly. This here is, of course, our drain plug, and this there, boys and girls, is our fill plug. Now, let's see if it's a 17 mil. Good job, Jimmy. Look at that. Your brain does still work. Now, what I need to do is get that extendable ratchet so I can twist that guy off. The reason being is because sometimes they like to get stuck quite tightly on the transmission, if that makes sense. I don't know if it makes sense. I should make sense when I talk because fuck, how else do you communicate, Jimmy? This is terrible today. I'm telling you guys, there's something in that CVT fluid, man. That shit is toxic, dude. Like, fuck, I can taste it. It's so disgusting. I didn't get any of it on my face or on my skin, but it has such a high smell. It's disgusting, man. Fuck, and I got 3 of these things to do too. It's like, ugh. Let's grab this guy, put it in there. Make sure you put it in the off position. Oh. That's pretty tight. Now just twist this guy off. Of course, we'll replace the gasket on this guy as well. Now what I'm going to do, boys and girls, is I'm going to wheel over our drain pan so it can catch the excess fluid. We just need it right in the corner on the front of the transmission. The second thing I'm going to do is wheel my cart over that houses all the fluid that we need so I can pump it into this thing until it overflows. So I'm going to set all that stuff up and make sure my camera's at a safe distance, and then I'll show you exactly what to do. So what you're going to do is, if you remember from the last frame, you're going to grab this guy here, the black holes. You're going to put it into the fill tube. Of course, make sure it is debris free. I don't want any dirt being pumped into your transmission. Make sure that guy is nice and stuck in there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab the other end of it, the one that's going to hook up to your air holes. And then we're just going to start pumping a little bit of air into it. Do not go crazy with the amount of air because the bottle or cap can blow off or blow up, which would suck. So yeah, be aware of that and begin pumping. I can see the air is pumping the fluid in. This does take a little bit. It's not as fast as my mechanical pump, which I don't know if I've shown that in videos before, but essentially it's a little pump that I use on a gun that manually pumps the fluid into the transmission. Of course, that requires two hands holding a few more things than two hands can usually hold, which ends up with fluid on the floor, which will make you a little bit crazy. So I prefer this method even though it's a bit slower. With all that rambling and how much pumping I'm doing, currently we have got 500 milliliters of fluid into the transmission. So not the slowest thing in the world. Of course, you want to continue this process, and then once you have emptied your first bottle, take the cap and switch it to another bottle and repeat the process until oil comes out of that transmission. Generally, it is 3.5 liters that is required. Okay, boys and girls, we have pumped in the first and second liters. It's been, I don't know, about 2-3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, I guess. Anyhow, what we're going to do now is pump in the third and then the fourth liter, but you'll see the fluid start running out of there. So that's exactly what I want you guys to see. You'll see it kind of drain down here, and that's how you'll know that there's enough fluid in there. Well, essentially, I'm just going to cut to the part where it runs down so you guys get the idea. All right, so it's happening with the third liter there. What we're gonna do is slowing. Let's pump in a little bit more just to make sure it's not short. What I meant was short on fluid. I pumped it in quite quick there, so. Okay, so now we have approximately 3 liters in there. What we're going to do is get this bad boy here and sneak it into place. You know, this is usually much easier because the camera isn't in your goddamn way because no one films this sort of stuff. Anyhow, here at Jimmy's Auto Clinic, we are trying our absolute best to show you boys and girls the process of struggles and hard times that we go to in order to service your car. Oh, don't throw the camera down. That would be very bad, Jimmy. Anyhow, boys and girls, now what we need to do is snug that plug up just a bit, and then what we'll do is we're going to have to start the thing up and run it through a certain cycle in order to get the transmission full of fluid again, and then we'll have to top up once the thing is up to operating temperature. Yes, I know, a mouthful. Just tighten it up a little bit. Doesn't have to be anything tight at all, just enough to make sure it doesn't leak out of there. Just wipe this shit up so you can see if there's any leaks anywhere for whatever reason. Now let's commence with the process. Now, boys and girls, what we need to do is go ahead and bring the vehicle up to operating temperature. Essentially, that means running the car at idle until the fans come on twice. With the vehicle on and running, wait for the fans to come on. Now, I should have said this before because it might not be clear to some of you folks out there, but you cannot run your air conditioning or anything really. Just have it at idle with everything off, specifically your climate control, because that can affect the way your car heats up, and it can also trigger your fan when you have your air conditioning on. So make sure all that stuff is off. Okay, boys and girls, so our fan has come on twice. It's been about another 20 minutes of just looking at stuff, which is awesome. What you need to do now is make sure that the car is in park. Of course, you might have saw me start it up in neutral. I did put it in park shortly after that. What you need to do is essentially go from park, reverse, neutral, drive, down to S and L, and in each position you need to hold the shifter there, not physically, just put it into that position and then leave it there for at least 3 seconds. So I would say 5 seconds is more than good enough. Then what I like to do is, to be sure, repeat the process twice, and then you can go ahead and fill this thing up. So and just keep doing this, so on and so forth, twice. From park to L, 5 seconds between every position, and you will be good. It does recommend only 3, but 5 seconds ain't gonna hurt it, and 10 seconds isn't gonna hurt it either. Essentially, what's happening here is inside the transmission, you have a valve body, and the fluid is being pumped through that. So whenever you drain the fluid, what happens is you develop air locks and basically air pockets inside of your transmission, which you need to deal with by shifting through the gear so you can get the transmission clear of any air. Now, I've cut through that so that you don't have to sit there and literally watch me wait there, but you will feel the gears engage whenever you put it into reverse or drive. If you don't feel that, well, something's probably wrong. Now I'm going to do that same process off camera again, boys and girls, and then we'll go ahead and top this thing up. And in case for whatever reason, if you can't hear, the engine is still running. Don't shut it off, leave it running. The only time you shut it off is when you go to top it up. Okay, boys and girls, go ahead, back this guy out. Of course, be careful. Everything is very, very hot and waiting to burn your goddamn hands. Move your drain pan into place just in case. Oh, my fucking washer. Damn it! Well, it doesn't look so new anymore, but whatever, it's still there. Okay, we'll clean that up. Grab the hose. Okay, stick it in the hole, and then begin pumping the fluid into the transmission. Yay! It's not the hardest of jobs, boys and girls. It just, it's kind of time consuming. Unfortunately, there's not really much you can do to help with that. You gotta wait patiently while it heats up, and of course, you gotta pay attention to it, because if you don't pay attention, well, no one's gonna be happy, because you're gonna burn through the customer's gas, and it's just gonna take you longer and longer and longer. Okay, just trying to get as much in as I can. Doesn't look like my hose is in there all the way. Okay, so we got a little bit coming out there, but I think that's because I put too much pressure. So let's swap out our new bottle. Of course, I'm hitting the camera because why wouldn't I be, right? Of course, boys and girls, you guys won't have these issues at home with people interrupting. Well, you'll probably have those issues, but you won't have issues with hitting a camera because you probably are not going to be recording this. And if you are, well, please post it because it makes me feel better about all the mistakes that I make. Get your new bottle and begin pumping. The only thing that's kind of difficult is it is a little bit hard to see when the transmission is full because you're not looking at the fluid leak out. So if you do have fluid leak out and there is residue there, that's most likely what it is. We're right at about 3.5 there, and we're pissing fluid out, so we're good to go. Now let me clean off that drain plug with some brake cleans, because brake clean makes everything better. Pull that hose out, slide this baby into place. Oh, there we go. Don't fucking knock the camera over, Jimmy. Okay, get that guy in there. Try your absolute best, boys and girls, not to burn yourself. It ain't easy, that's for sure, because everything's nice and hot. Now what you're going to do is get your torque wrench. You're going to set it to 32 foot-pounds or 44 newton meters. And to my point, you can see there that there's nothing leaking from the hole, but you still have residual fluid that's dripping off your transmission. There we go. Of course, grab your brake clean and spritz everything down. The nice thing about it being hot is all that fluid is going to dissolve away nice and easy. Now, boys and girls, what you want to do is just get the hell away from the car, because you need to breathe some fresh air instead of all this CVT bullshit. Once you've had enough of a break, what you can do is go ahead and put that belly pan, that aluminum piece that sits here and hides all this stuff away, back into place. Of course, inspect it to make sure you don't have any leaks or residue, and then put it back into place. Go ahead, boys and girls, grab your pan, and what you want to do is slide it in. Make sure you catch all these little plastic tabs. You don't want them to not be utilized. Also, you'll find on the end here, it can be a little tricky to slide in. The easiest thing I find is support it in the middle. Do the one side and then of course do the other. Then go ahead, grab these little aluminum guys here and put them back into place. There is no torque spec for these guys. Just don't be a crazy person. A 90-degree twist is all they require. Like I said, boys and girls, you should have 3 per side, 6 in total. If you have any less, well, replace them. Don't forget to put some anti-seize on these two guys here. Go ahead and thread them in. Same thing for these screws here, boys and girls. There is no torque spec. Just make sure you tighten it up to the point where it won't come off. And of course, not so tight that you break them. Gently, if you are going to use a torque wrench, I would say no more than 5 foot-pounds. Okay, boys and girls, all that's left to do is for you to take this thing on a test drive. Just make sure that when you test drive the thing, you take it easy with it initially to make sure that it is doing its job and transferring the power normally without slipping or jerking and any of that sort of stuff that nobody wants to deal with. Second thing I'll tell you, boys and girls, as you continue to drive it, you should be very gentle in the initial portion when you start test driving it. Treat it like a grandma essentially, and then you can up the power as you like. But of course, I will caution you, it is a CVT, and just because it's a Honda Civic doesn't mean it's a race car. I don't know if you folks out there suffer from the same issue, but in the GTA, a lot of people think that the Honda Civic is the world's fastest car, unfortunately. So don't test drive it like that, and don't generally drive your car like that. It's not a good thing, especially if you have a CVT, because they're not meant to be driven like that, and they don't last if you do drive them like that. Just to let you know, boys and girls, this particular application and the way that we did it ended up taking 3.3 liters of fluid, so not very much at all. So definitely glad that I bought the 4th liter and didn't run out of fluid. That being said, boys and girls, that's all she wrote for this one. If you found the video entertaining as well as informative, please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss one of my new videos. And as always, thanks for watching. We will see you in the next one. Always get a nice level surface that will allow you to crawl underneath this thing safely. So you're probably going to need a jack. Of course you're going to need a jack. How the fuck else are you going to get it up, stupid? Or rent a hoist or something. A lot of those types of shops are kind of popping up now. I should probably do that because Lord knows I'm not making enough money doing what I do. But anyhow, that's a discussion for another day, boys and girls. That's enough rambling. Let's go ahead, put this thing up in the air, and then we will show you what you're looking for. But no, we're not putting it up in the air first. Okay, boys and girls, our first step here is going to go ahead. Fuck. When you drain it, you drain out whatever fluid. That way, because the fluid... fuck. There's that fucking compressor. Focus, you fuck. If this thing would focus, you fuck. Put this drain plug. Sound like an Arab prison there. What we're going to do, boys and girls, is wait for this guy here to drain. What? We're letting it drain, Jay. What are you, stupid? It would help if I picked up a can of brake clean that actually had brake clean left in it. Now, there are different service... The other thing to be aware of, boys and girls, this service here is with us with... what the hell am I saying? Of course, there's that fucking compressor. If you need to, for whatever reason, drain the pan, it is a different process. This fucking clip is just useless because no one's going to take the fucking pan off unless they're going to shop, Jimmy. So this is stupid. Anyhow, we're going to delete that shit or put it into bloopers. We'll see what happens. Boys and girls, set your torque wrench. I was going to say in your hand. That was so stupid. Grab your torque wrench, boys and girls. Set it to 49. Oops. Supposed to say the foot-pounds first, Jimmy. Damn it. I should have moved that shit first. Boys and girls, grab your torque wrench. Set it to 39 foot-pounds or... Wait, that's not the right fucking... Why is this so hard today? Boys and girls, grab your torque wrench. Set it to... Boys and girls, grab your torque... I sound retarded. With all these fucking bloopers, people are going to think I'm retarded. God damn it. Boys and girls, set your torque wrench to 36 foot-pounds or 49 newton meters. What a fucking disaster this is turning into, eh? Now he does it... Anyhow, let's get that ratchet and... I just had the fucking ratchet, now I lost it because I lose my marbles. Why aren't you starting, you fucker? They got the fucking door open. Retard. Now, boys and girls, what we need to do is go ahead and... Oh, that's why. Stupid Jimmy doesn't drive. Once you've had a good 5-minute break from it, you can go ahead and put that under tray or engine cover or whatever you... Well, the cover goes on the top, Jimmy. Stupid. You don't want to have them break off or not. Ah, fuck cocksuckers. Yeah, Freshway Raceway. Let me go lock that door. The easiest thing I find is to do... fuck you. Oh, the wonders of the shop. It's always 600 noises. Like I say, boys and girls, you should have 6 per side. Oh, wait. Same thing for these guys here, boys and... Same thing for these guys here, boys and girls. Fuck me. Of course, fix it properly and then hit it with a fucking leg, you moron. The easiest thing I find is to fucking just not be a mechanic. That being said, boys and girls, I hope you... This is bullshit. Let me fucking just do this over. I rambled on too much.